Let us start with the morning puja, preliminary homage to the Buddha. Let us pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Offerings. Please put your palms together to partake in the offerings to the Buddha. The offerings of the 5 items allows us to express our gratitude to the Buddha and serve as a symbol to help us remember the teachings. Please join wholeheartedly and read the verses together. Offering of light. Light symbolizes wisdom. May the light of Dhamma dispel the darkness of ignorance. Offering of incense. Incense symbolizes the fragrance of pure moral conduct. This reminds us to cultivate good conduct. Offering of water. Water symbolizes purity, clarity, and calmness. It reminds us to practice the Buddha's teachings, to cleanse one's mind, which is full of desires, ill will, and delusion, to attain the state of purity. Offering of fruits. Fruits symbolize the ultimate fruit of enlightenment, which is our goal. They also remind us that all actions will have their effects. Offering of flowers. Flowers symbolize impermanence. The freshness, fragrance, and beauty of flowers are impermanent. This reminds us that we should all live in the present. Remembering thus, we should reduce our craving and attachment. Salutation to the Triple Gem. Let us pay respects to the Triple Gem. Arahang Sama Sambuddho Bhagawa Buddhang Bhagawantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipano Bhagavato Sawaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Going for refuge, we chant the verses for taking the 3 refuges. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami. Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami. The 5 precepts. We chant these verses to observe the 5 precepts. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Adinadana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Kamesu Miccācara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Musawada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Surameraya Majapamadatthana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Recollection of the Buddha. Let us recollect the sublime qualities of the Buddha. Iti pisso bhagava arahang sama sambuddho vijacārana sampano sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisadhammasarati Sata dewa manusanang Buddho Bhagavanti. Recollection of the Dhamma. Let us recollect the sublime qualities of the Dhamma. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko akaliko ehipasiko opanayiko pacatang veditabo vinyuhiti. Recollection of the Sangha. Let us recollect the sublime qualities of the Sangha. Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. Ujjupatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. Nyayapatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. Samicipatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. Yadidang Cattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Pukala Esa Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho. Ahuneyo Pahuneyo Dakineyo Anjali Karaniyo Anuttarang Punyaketang Lokasati. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right, now that everyone is settling down, later on we'll invite Sis Sylvia Bay to lead us in meditation and to proceed with the Dhamma sharing, which entitled Death and Beyond, teaching from the Pali Canon. So before that, I'd like to read a profile of Sister Sylvia Bay, although you may know her very well, but read this first, all right? So Sis Sylvia Bay has dedicated herself to the study and practice of the Buddha's teachings since 1992. She holds a Bachelor of Arts with Honours degree in Buddhist Studies from the Buddhist and Pali University of Sri Lanka and was a lecturer with her alma mater. She also has a Master's in International Public Policy from Johns Hopkins School of Advanced Studies. Since 2001, Sis Sylvia has been a regular speaker on Buddhist doctrines and their practical applications at local and regional Buddhist organizations. In 2013, she published her first book, Between the Lines, an analytical appreciation of the Buddha's life. She is now working on another book titled Towards the Light, the Buddha's Guide to Heavenly Rebirth. All right, without further ado, Sis Sylvia.
I'm going to invite everyone to sit back, relax. We're going to do a little bit of Metta meditation today, okay? Metta, not anapanasati. So, sit back, relax. Don't lie down. Sit upright. For Metta meditation, you must have a certain joyous buoyancy, okay? So do exactly as I ask you to. The reason why we're doing Metta is because the talk is long. I need the time for the talk. Metta will enable you to go deep in, still for the mind for quite a while, and you can feel that sense of peace come falling over you. I think that's good enough. Okay, now close your eyes. Close your eyes. Find a comfortable position. Whenever you do meditation, you should start feeling comfortable. So close your eyes and you sit upright, but not too rigid. You must feel comfortable with your body. Okay? Now, I want you to start by just doing a quick scan of your body. Be aware of the form as you go through. Sweep over your body. Be aware of the form, feeling it upright, feeling comfortable. Feeling comfortable. As you watch this form, you say quietly, I feel blessed having been born in the human realm. As a human, I feel blessed. I have this opportunity to sit here before the Buddha to learn the Dhamma. I feel blessed. 2,500 years, there is still the teaching, the pure teaching that will help us to experience the end of suffering. I feel blessed. I have the mental capacity to understand the Dhamma. I feel blessed. I sit amongst practitioners, fellow seekers of the Dhamma. I am blessed. To have access to Dhamma, to understand the Dhamma, to experience joy in practicing Dhamma. I am blessed. I am well. I have means. I can support Dhamma propagation. I can serve the Sangha. I am blessed. With so many blessings, I here and now make an aspiration to be a wholesome, compassionate person to the best of my abilities, and to serve the community as best as I can. I am a seeker of the truth. In this life, I walk in search of the path. To the end of this life, I will uphold the practice. I may or may not see the Dhamma or taste the Dhamma in this life, but I will never stray away from this path. It's the most beautiful gift of Buddha. I'm not perfect, but as I try to understand the practice, I've become kinder, gentler, more considerate, more respectful of others. I'm learning to be content. Contentment is joyous and peace. If you feel joy and peace now in your heart, you say, I wish, I hope that my loved ones will have an opportunity to taste this joy that I'm feeling. With this joy, I wish all beings in all directions, above, below, to the left, to the right, in front and behind, I wish all beings well and happy wherever they are. May they all be free from suffering. May they all be free from pain. May they all be free from fear. May they live in peace and harmony. May they live long and live well. I invite all of you to share your merits with all sentient beings. Give it a last push. Feel the kindness coming up from within the deepest point in you, from the deepest well in you. Draw out love, compassion, friendliness, and share with all sentient beings. May all beings be well and happy. Okay, if you're ready, you can slowly come out, take a bow before the Buddha, in mental bow. You can slowly come out of your meditation. Slowly, no hurry. There are still more chairs, right? There's still more chairs. So for those of you who are chopping the space there, you may want to chop the space here. Okay, shall we begin? Did you all have a good session? Did you all feel good? How many of you feel really good? When you feel really good, that's metta coming out of you, okay? Just a few words before we start the talk. It is not true that for meditation, your mind cannot talk. It can talk, but it must be in such a way that you are mindful and you are aware of whatever is going on. If you think and you drift, that's not meditation. Okay, that's not being aware. In meditation, there is a leashed form of thinking. This Dhatika vichara is leashed. You can actually very mindfully say things, but it must be very mindful. That is why for Buddha, he had taught 32 parts. You're all familiar, 31, 32, it all depends on where you come from. That many parts. You know about the metta meditation. May I be well and happy, may everyone be well and happy. That's some form of talking, but it's leashed. So what I've introduced today is to take you through an experience of meditation that can take you to the heights of piti. You feel very joyous, right? Can take you to the heights of piti and help you maintain a certain degree of clarity, mindfulness, and it's concentrated, yeah? So some of you may come out of your meditation feeling a little heavy. It's because your mind has really lifted. So what you want to do is to bring the mental energy down, okay? Think of, you don't want it to be too light, you get a headache afterwards. You don't want it to be too light, just bring it down, okay? But you're happy enough, so we can begin. For those of you who are out there, there are seats in here, you can come in and join them. That means we have enough social distancing space for you. Okay, today's talk, the theme, death and beyond, has to be covered in more than one part. Because if I were to do everything today, you will not go home until tonight. I dredged out so much material that when I shared with some members in the BF Exco, they said, why don't you cover it in more than one lecture? Which is great. Then for the next few lectures, I don't have to think about what to do. I will continue with this theme. Okay, the three parts are as follows. Dying, death, and the birth process, which will be covered today. The other realms of existence, heaven and hell, will be covered in the next lecture, which is being scheduled for 1st November. And the third one, the practitioner's mission, is in December. We haven't nailed the date yet. Okay? That talk is the one, the third one, is the one which is a little bit less mass market. Today's and the next talk, the one on death and dying process and heaven and hell, they are relatively easier to follow. Okay? The citations mainly from the Pali Canon, which means I'm just going to dredge out all the materials that the Buddha said on these issues for you to see for yourself, for you to read for yourself. We want to avoid all kinds of ideas that have come about after centuries of speculations. Centuries and centuries of teachers and practitioners have been thinking about these issues. I mean, look, death is the one certainty in our life. We can't be sure that we'll all be rich. We can't be sure that we'll all be successful. We can't even be sure that we'll all get married. But we can be sure everyone will end up at the same place. In terms of death, beyond that, after the passport, it's a different arising. But that immigration control called death door, that's what we all have to go through. Right? Okay. So today's talk will be as follows. This is what we're going to cover. 6 topics. Okay? Why talk about death? The basis for the Buddha's teaching on life beyond death. The basis of his teaching. On what basis did he say he knows? Okay? What is death? What is birth? What fuels the rebirth process? And the one that many would be interested in, factors that contribute to rebirth destination. And then the last bit, my advice, from all that the Buddha had taught, what are my conclusions about how, as Buddhists, as his disciples, in this life, how should we confront death or look at death and manage the dying process? Okay? The first question. Why this topic? Why talk about death and dying? So choy, right? Central to the Buddhist belief, death is not the end. There is rebirth and life continues. My question to you, do you believe? Hello, this is a live audience, right? I stress on the word live audience, right? Do you first believe that there is such a thing as life beyond death? Is it a resounding yes or a grudging yes? You all agree, huh? Otherwise you won't be here, right? Otherwise you will be like, waste my time, Sunday morning some more. If indeed you believe, are you pragmatic? If you are pragmatic, then you cannot pretend that death doesn't exist. We all tend to live life kind of not paying attention to what's obviously coming our way. Agree? I mean, can you imagine living life just thinking of death? You know what? I just kill myself and end this story. So anxious to wait for death. But the reality is, we go to the other extreme, which is we completely ignore it. We pretend that the elephant in the room is not there. Right? So this is where it is not wise, not practical. And this is my point. We must learn how to die well so that we can safeguard rebirth. It is a piece of knowledge that can help not just ourselves, but for others, for your family, for friends. You are going to learn what it takes from the Buddha so that you know what to do for yourself. It's like having the 10-year series revealed to you. And then you say, I don't believe lah. I don't want to learn from the 10-year series. I imagine my own questions. And then I take my GCE O-levels. That's not very wise. We just take from the Buddha. He said, here, take it, we take. Okay? And so, as I said earlier, we're going to let the Buddha's words in the Pali Canon speak to you. Okay, note that legend at the bottom. The different colors means it's the verse or the sentences, the statements, the para has been translated by that particular teacher. Okay? So, the basis for the Buddha's teaching on rebirth. Have you read this phrase before? I read to you. The first part says, quite secluded from sensual pleasure. The lines ... it goes on to say, quite secluded from unwholesomeness. I enter upon and abide in the first jhana. So what it means is, here the Buddha went into deep meditation and he hit the fourth jhana. Okay? So from his practice, the reason why I cut off all the ... on the front part is because that is on meditation, which for today we won't go into. I will just tell you, Buddha went into the fourth jhana, and this is what he said. You look at the way he described. When my concentrated mind was thus purified, bright, unblemished, rid of imperfection, malleable, wieldy, steady, attained to imperturbability, meaning to say he went into stillness. The mind is so pure, it's like a piece of glass. This is the fourth jhana. So the clarity, now in the fourth jhana, the two mental states, very clear. Equanimity and clear mindfulness. The mindfulness is very pure, not tainted by views. It's very pure mindfulness. And there he said, I directed it to knowledge of recollection of past lives. I recollected my manifold past lives. You look at what he said here. There are two things happening. One, his memory of past lives, up to 100,000. Now, he obviously didn't sit there and count. But the idea here is so many he recollected. In details, name, family, clan is family. His appearance, the physical form, the food that he ate, his experience of pleasure and pain, how long he lived, passed away and was reborn. Now, I ask you this. You think about your own life, this life. Okay, this life. If I ask you, sir, ma'am, could you tell us a little about yourself? What would you say? If I were to ask you, right, what would you say? Please introduce yourself. What would you say? You would say your name, I give you chance lah. Seriously, we have a bit of an engagement, okay? Social distancing doesn't mean no engagement. So, I'm asking you, what would you say? You will say, my name. Name, right? Who wouldn't say name? You may start talking about your family, yes? You probably will talk about your experience, but the experiences that you will remember, what are they? Pleasure, pain. You will not remember all those neutral experiences. I mean, how many of you remember this morning I brushed my teeth, I changed clothes, wear shoes, punch ticket? You don't remember any of these things because they are so forgettable. But the ones that you remember are the ones that had you experienced heightened emotions, the pleasures, the pain, yeah? But you see, there's one more that he said. Food. If you say, I am a Singaporean, when you go overseas and say, I'm a Singaporean, so what do you remember? Durian, okay? Chicken rice, char kway teow. Suddenly you remember all your food, and what do you think when you remember your food? Home. But you look at what the Buddha said. Isn't that a normal human instinct? You would imagine that when you are recording deep meaning, you would leave out food lah. Why would you record food? But here he said, I remember name, family, appearance, food. Isn't that fascinating? Because that's exactly how a person will remember his life. This is really what happened that night when he was just seeing his life. He picked out the food. Now you tell me, would you pick out clothes? You won't even pick out cars. But the odds are you will pick out food, which he did. Okay? And he remembered passing away. So the idea here is he remembered the dying process, the death, and the change. The process. This is what he said. This is in my book, Between the Lines. Okay? So for the Buddha, what he had said about rebirth phenomenon, it's not theoretical or philosophical or hypothetical. He saw. It was an experience. So that's why it's experiential. Okay? And this piece of knowledge was the first of 3 pieces of information, knowledge, that he glimpsed that night. The first watch, 6 to 10 p.m., he recalled his own past lives in detail. Okay? The blue one, Bhikkhu Analayo's translation, I thought was very clear. So I cut it out, pasted it there. The purified divine eye that surpasses that of human. I saw beings passing away, reappearing, inferior and superior, beautiful and not, fortunate, unfortunate. I understood how beings fed in accordance with their deeds. So what happened here? The detail, the next, they're both from MN4, okay? But one is translated by Bhikkhu Analayo, the second one by Bhikkhu Bodhi. You see, Bhikkhu Bodhi's language is a little bit more formal. The reason is, Bhante Bhikkhu Bodhi was very precise. Every word that appears in his translation is found in the Pali. Okay? So his translation, if you want to know exactly how the Buddha said something, you always go to him. His translation is always that clean, but also a bit harder to read. So in this long point that he made, the Buddha was saying, those who had evil, had done ill, body, speech, mind, they had done all the wrongs. I wish I will go through in a while later. They done all this unwholesome, akusala acts, reappeared in a state of deprivation, bad destination, okay? Then there are the worthy beings, the good ones, the ones who had conducted themselves well, body, speech, and mind. They have appeared in a good destination, the heavenly worlds, okay? And this was the second knowledge that he had that night, witnessing others' births and rebirths. Rebirths meaning death and again birth. Buddha had discerned karma as a critical driver of the rebirth process. The third piece of knowledge I will cover in lecture 3, okay? So he discovered how people, what drives rebirth, what was one of the drivers of rebirth, and 2, planes of existence. Different planes of existence. Not just, if you want to put it in modern science language, I will call it dimensions. You have one dimension, which comprise animals and human, and you have other dimensions where the rebirth was different. The process of rebirth was very different. And the experiences in those other planes, very different. Knowledge gleamed between these 2 watches. So 6 p.m. to 2, okay? 6 to 10, 10 to 2. These are the many hours where he sat in deep samadhi, 4th level meditation, 4th level jhana, and he just went through the Korean drama, the past lives, other people's stories. He was just watching as the images. One set, I'm not sure if you have noticed it, the first one was knowledge. He recalled. The second one was vision. He saw. They are not the same. My guess, it's a guess, huh? Now I'm speculating. My guess is when he saw, he was looking at something that was happening then. It's a live seeing. Because he has got divine eyes, right? He could see things that others can't see. So he was eye-witnessing death and rebirth. Death and rebirth. Death and rebirth. It's an eyewitness account. He was not remembering or recalling. This is the difference. Okay? What is very fascinating is Buddha said, anyone with the 4th jhana, because I said the right mental conditions, and you look at the next line, the way he said it, well then, Watcher. Watcher was a wanderer, a fellow seeker of sort, but of course not of the Buddha's level. He was seeking truth. He was not his disciple at this point, okay? So he went to talk to the Buddha. He was confused. To tell you the whole sutta, he was very confused. Different schools were teaching different things, and this poor guy, this watcher, was quite distraught. The translation was he was perplexed. So he went to the Buddha saying, I'm perplexed. The Buddha said, I can understand why. Don't worry about it. Come, let me talk to you. So then came the discourses, and there are 2 discourses. So whenever you see the longer discourse means there was a shorter one somewhere. So there were at least 2 discourses with Watcher. Buddha said, develop 2 states, serenity and discernment. I put the Pali word there, samatha. Samatha is deep meditation, vipassana, which is insight. Ajahn Sujato translated it as discernment. Bhikkhu Bodhi translated it as insight. So this idea here is the mind goes very still, very calm, it's very clear. It will see things as they are without subtract with condiments and all. He's just seeing it as it is. And he will have the correct objective takeaway. Okay? So here it said, whenever you want, you be capable of realizing the following. You will be capable of seeing your past lives, remembering your past lives. If you manage to nail the meditation well, to the point that your mind is very clear, very still, very clear, and it will see as it is. Okay? And with details and all. So Buddha was saying anyone with these mental conditions, with the right mental conditions, they too will be able to see the past lives. Okay? So next question. What is death? Then I think half the world here says, "What I know already. We're wasting time with this. Worse, I'm taking you through aging." Buddha said, look, if it's not important, the Buddha wouldn't spend his precious time explaining with so much details. The aging of the various beings, they are growing old, brokenness of teeth, grayness of hair, wrinkling of skin, decline of vitality, degeneration of the faculties. This is called aging. Look at that sentence. Do you all spot anything? See yourself in it, huh? Of course, we all do, right? Even I do. Grayness of hair, wrinkling of skin, decline of vitality. But there's something else. I'll give you a clue, okay? Look at the language, the verb. The verb. It's a continuous verb, right? Growing, degeneration, graying, wrinkling. The idea there is continuity, okay? Now I give you the next one. Look at that. Passing away, perishing, disappearance, mortality, completion of time, breakout of aggregates, laying down of the carcass. The world sees death as an event. Full stop. Buddha saw the whole thing as a process. Right? It's a process. Continuous, continual, conditional flow. It moves. Okay? Why is that significant? Conditional means it can be tweaked. It can be shaped. Nothing is fixed and final. This point, you must know. Wherever you think you are going, you ain't going there yet. Okay? Wherever you think you may land up, young or old, it is not done deal. You are still shaping and reshaping. Things can be done. I will show you some things he said, which I can guarantee will stump you. Because I got stumped. When I read it, I went, oh, I didn't know that. So I guarantee you look at what he said and you will go, really? Yeah, really? So, as his students, as his disciples and followers, Our challenge is to understand how to impact, how to influence, how to shape, how to rejig, how to tweak. You learn to be car mechanics so that when your tire puncture, you don't instinctively call husband or wife. You will know what to do for yourself. Actually, it's really not just for yourself, for your loved ones. You feel you can't do anything for someone who is dying. So everybody sits there and just twiddle their thumb and I don't know what you call that. I get very agitated. But what's the point? The point is, know what can be done and do it. And do it. Okay? So at the end of this talk, I hope that all of you will go out inspired to be the concierge of death. Your job is to conduct your family and loved one into the next rebirth beautifully. He gave us the 10-year series. I always say, I mean, when I stayed, I was like, so jialat. We are the one with the 秘诀 and we don't know how to use. So cannot, okay? At the end of this talk, we must know how to use it and use it wisely. Okay? Death is followed by birth or rebirth, which is also a process. You look at the words that he used. The birth of the various beings into the various orders of being. You look at how precise those words are. I would have cut off into the various orders of beings, but no. I must keep it for you to see how precise the translation was. Descent, the word here is descent into the womb. So this particular birth that Buddha talked about is the womb-born being. There are 3 other types, which today we will not talk about. I will just introduce the idea. The next talk, we will talk about those. There are 3 other types: the egg-born, the moisture-born, and the spontaneously arising ones. Okay? So this is womb-born. Descend into the womb. The manifestation of the aggregates. The obtaining of the sense bases. I tell you how precise the Buddha was. The first one talks about the basic raw material, manifestation of the aggregates, yes? But we know, having the aggregate doesn't mean they work. You have the form, you have eyes, you have ears, but they may not work. Then he says, obtaining of the sense bases. It's a process. You look at how precise he was. Only when you have obtained the sense basis, this is called birth. Okay? This means it's done. 做工了，做好了, okay? It's done. The next point I'm going to introduce is a little bit controversial, but I will introduce it, okay? Bhikkhu, the descent of the embryo takes place through the union of 3 things. Now, I can read through this, or I can spare you the thing. The union of 3 things are the union of the father and mother. I leave it to your imagination. Mother must be in season, and the presence of a Gandabba. The presence of a Gandabba, okay? And he said, if there were the union of parents, but the woman is not in season and the Gandabba is not present, nothing happens. Okay? This came from the Buddha. So, 3 conditions for successful conception. Okay? Now comes this issue of the Gandabba. We are not the first group that will debate about this. We are not the first group. Over centuries, different schools, different teachers have been arguing about it. What do you think it is? You'll be surprised, huh? But what do you think it is? Okay, you say being. Who else say something else? Consciousness. Who else say something else? You're not very imaginative, leh. Sorry? Karma and craving. Oh, that's quite good. Now you are imaginative. I tell you, okay? You go into the internet and you start searching for Gandabba, right? You come out with this. Maternity God. Male procreational material. I leave it to your imagination. It's a spark. Now, this maternity God thing was not argued by laymen like you and I speculating happily, okay? This was actually serious scholars arguing about this possibility. And I tell you why. I think the sutta is called Devadattu. There is a sutta which I will introduce in the next talk, but not in this one, where there was Yama, the king, long story short, Yama, the king, who was interrogating a deceased and asking the deceased, did you not see the 5 or 6 messengers of the God? Did you not see? Why did you continue to do bad, do evil? And then after that, he said to this deceased, whatever, your karma will take you wherever. So these beings went into hell. That is how the idea of Yama, our Chinese idea of Yama, the king being the ruler of hell and so on, in the canon is a little bit different, okay? But the point there is, there was a personification, there was a God who was a witness to a process. He was not the guy who meted out punishment. He was only the witness of the event. Here, Gandabba, in the Brahmanic sense, the Vedas, in the Vedas, the Gandabba appeared. Okay? But in the Vedas, the Gandabba is a maternity god. He's a witness to the process. He has to be there to certify. He's the immigration officer. He has to certify. But that's in the Vedas. You understand? And this discussion was originally, the scholars argue and said, the first time this was introduced was in a sutta called Asalayana Sutta, which is a discussion between the Buddha and the Brahmin. And it was the Brahmin who said, Buddha asked him, do you know if the Gandabba was a Brahmin or Shaskars or So it was a discussion between Buddha and a Brahmin, and the Gandabba appeared. Do you understand? So, it being a maternity god may not be completely inconceivable. So if you think, if you read it as, okay, you must be the union of parents, and then there is the mother in season, and the maternity god must be there, and then it happens. Can or not? Can. But no. Okay? Look at this sentence. And Jiang Wei gets full marks. It was said, this is a conversation between Buddha and Ananda with consciousness. And the Pali translation, Vijnana Pacaya. So, Vijnana, is consciousness, right? Pacaya is a condition. With consciousness as a condition, There is nama rupa, mentality, materiality. How is that ananda should be, how that is so ananda should be understood like this. If consciousness were not to descend into the mother's womb, would nama rupa take shape in the womb? No. If after descending into the womb, consciousness were to depart, would Namarupa be generated into the current state? No. If consciousness of a young boy or girl, now you see he changed the words already, descend into the womb, you start to take shape, eventually you will know the gender. The Buddha was consistent in the teaching. You see how his mind works? Consciousness, if it's a boy or girl, were to be cut off, would Nama Rupa grow up, develop, and reach maturity? No. Therefore, this is the cause, source, origin, condition for Nama Rupa, namely consciousness. So Gandabba, is it reasonable to say that in the context of the Buddha's teaching, the Gandabba, in his context, is consciousness? Fair, right? It's a fair because of the word descend into the womb. Okay? Going by this sutta. Now you know why this research took so long. But I want to stress this still. There is no contradiction with the Buddha's teaching on anatta. Anatta, no substance, no self, no soul. Not soul. I highly recommend you to read this article, which is online. It's written by Bhikkhu Analayo. And the article was called Rebirth and the Gandabba. Okay? The reference was MN 38, the longer discourse on the ending of craving, Mahatangha Sankhaya Sutta, where the Buddha reprimanded, specifically scolded a monk who was a ex-fisherman. His name was Sati. And this monk happily went around saying, it's consciousness that migrate from life to life. And the other monks went, blasphemy. Anyhow talk. Bring you before the Buddha. Go talk to the Buddha. Buddha heard what he said and scolded him. Since when you heard me teach like that? Seriously? So Buddha was very clear. It is consciousness, but it is not a soul. Then you say, it's a change of word. No, there is a deeper meaning there. We will discuss that on another day. Remind me when we are doing lecture 3, okay? Because we have 29 slides and I've only covered 10. Okay, I tell you what, take 5. Okay, I kept pointing out the word descending into the womb, right? And by and large, we can assume that that means taking rebirth as a human. Of course, there are also mammals that are not human, which is the animals, right? Some animals. But I think this one is referring to a human. Just bear in mind, you see, I told you, Buddha said there are 4 types of rebirth. There is womb-born, egg-born, moisture-born, and spontaneous. Where animal where? Egg, moisture, and womb. Right? Okay. This one is fascinating. There are 4 kinds of conception. Okay? Someone is aware, is unaware. Now, the Pali word is ikako, which actually means a being. So you may see this translated as a person, but no, it actually merely said one. Ikako is one being, okay? Someone unaware when conceived. This is Ajahn Sujato's translation. He replaced descent with conceived. I chose the translation descent because that's what it means. Okamati actually means descending. So, first, someone unaware when he descend into the mother's womb, unaware as they remain there, unaware when they emerge. That's one type. The second one is they are aware when they descend, but unaware that they remain and unaware when they come out. The third one is aware when they descend, aware when they're in there, then the birth canal experience, everything forgotten. Unaware when they come out, when they emerge. The fourth one is aware, and aware. Okay? What's the significance of this? May explain why we all forgot. The bulk of you, how many of you here recall past lives? With all the details, name, clan, appearance, nutriment, pleasure and pain, how many? If you say, I know I was an Egyptian princess, no count. What was your name? Don't remember. What do you look like? Don't remember, but I was beautiful. Doesn't count, okay? It doesn't count. Must be with details. Then we talk. This was something which the monks memorized. This is called Sangiti Sutta. And this sutta is very interesting. If you have time, go look at it. It's very long. It's in the Digha Nikaya. It's a summary of what the Buddha taught in numbers. 1, 2, 3. Here it goes. 1. It's like Anguttara Nikaya, the numerical collection, summarized into one sutta. There's 4 conceptions, 4 right effort, 4 foundations, mindfulness. It's really in summary. Okay. So this is just a little sideline talk. This is what you are interested in. What fuels the rebirth process? How is one life connected to the next? Okay? Remember Watcha? Earlier on we mentioned Watcha, the guy who was perplexed. So Watcha asked him, how does it work? He said, rebirth is for one with fuel. Just as the fire burns with fuel, not without fuel. Rebirth for one with fuel, not for one without fuel. There you go, huh? Never mind. Watcha also went, huh? Master Gautama, when a flame is flung by the wind and goes into the distance, what is the fuel? On that occasion, and the Buddha said, the wind. The wind is the fuel. Now listen to what he said. When a being has laid down this body and hasn't popped into the next body, what's the fuel? The Buddha said, craving is the fuel. Craving. Upadana. Actually, the Pali word was upadana, which means grasping. But all that the suttas that I have checked, they all translated it as fuel. Okay? Which means to say that when a person dies, as long as there is clinging and craving, there will be a birth. There will be. His Gandabba will enter into the next destination. Okay? Consciousness will boom into the next destination. Because this clinging will be a becoming. When there's a clinging, there will be a becoming. The next interesting topic, the factors that condition rebirth destination. Okay? Look at what the Buddha said. Because I want to get a sutta where he explicitly say, I know how to do it. I understand hell, the path and way leading to hell. I understand how one who has entered this path will, on the dissolution of the body after death, reappear in a state of deprivation. So there is path and way. Path actually means there are things that you do that invariably will lead to a certain outcome. You're walking this way. If you're walking this way, you will end up in that direction, in that destination. But this one is specifically hell. And he mentioned 5 kinds of world, right? The animal, the ghosts, humans, world of gods, and hell. Hell, animal, ghosts, human, gods. That is the rank order. Highest level being God, ghosts being better than animals. Okay? Now, fair? A general assumption is we have no control over the birth process, the rebirth process, that we are helpless. Is that a fair statement? In the word here is assumption. We assume we have no control. Is that a fair statement? No? No, that's because you know that it can be done. Before you knew that it can be done, was that your assumption? More or less lah, more or less. We hope that it's not true, but we kind of, there's a certain resignation to we are victim of the process. The point is, we do have some control within limits under certain circumstances. This part, you must understand. You have some control. Something can be done. But they have limits. You just have to understand the principles. Okay? This is my question to you. Do you believe him? If you believe him, you will apply. If you don't believe him, you will say, sure not, sure not, sure not. Okay? It's a rhetorical question. I didn't expect that you were, I don't believe Buddha. In this kind of community, nobody will raise their hand and say, I don't believe. You're too polite, right? Okay, what's the factor that will condition rebirth? Oh, what happened to it? Okay. It has appeared. So sorry. The first is something called karma. The choices. Remember, karma are deliberate decisions, choices that you make through speech, action, and thought in this life, affecting rebirth destination and conditions of the next life. All of you here say, I know already this one. That's why I'm so scared. But I will still take you through it. Look at what the Buddha said in this sutta. It's the dog duty ascetic Kuku Rakwatika Sutta. 4 kinds of action proclaimed by me after realizing them with direct knowledge. What's the 4? What are the 4? Dark action with dark result. Bright action with bright result. Dark and bright action with the mixed colored result. And neither dark nor bright with neither dark nor bright results. Action that leads to the destruction of action. That's when I know many will go, I understand 1, I understand 2. Oh, it's 3 and 4. Okay? Now 1. Generates an afflictive bodily formation, verbal formation, mental formation. In other words, afflictive, painful, cruel. It causes pain, causes harm. So with your speech, action, and mental thoughts, the thoughts that you have, if they want to cause harm or if they have caused harm, then you will end up with this problem reappearing in an afflicted world. Afflictive contacts will touch you. Painful experiences you will have. Then you will feel afflictive feelings, exclusively painful, as in the case of the hell beings. Okay? This one, no arguments, we understand. This one, bright action, bright result. So unafflictive means all the wholesome action, body, speech, and mind, you will end up in heaven. And then you go, okay, I understand this. Next. So next. Next is the one that applies to us. This is the one that applies to us, okay? We are all like this, Roja. Good days, good action, bad action. So you end up in the world of human. There. We are all here. And here, we're still the same. Still good and bad. Some gods, and some beings in the lower world, supitas. So it's your shades. If your shade is more good than bad, human and lower the god, some gods. If your shade is darker, so imagine, bright this side, dark this side, we are in the middle. We are the national average. See, my choice of word national average is correct. We are the national average. So good and bad. Then sometimes we shade towards bright. Sometimes, embarrassingly so, we shade towards dark. Then we quickly shade back to bright, and we are kind of shading like this, right? Human, no? Human. Bosala, right? But we are going for this one. This is the I have no idea what's happening one. This is arahants. In whatever that they do, in the way that they do it, there is no shading. There is no desire. They have no desire. So when there is no desire, when they flow with the conditions, when they have no delusions, then the things that they do has no impact on the mind. So they will do things that results in the destruction of actions. Not just the arahant, the practitioners to the highest level. When you are practicing rightly, and you're very mindful of how you do things, you will also see your mind not being motivated by unwholesome thoughts or wholesome thoughts. You just do. You just do. The deeds are wholesome, but you're not caught up in it. And at that point, your mind is learning how to let go. Okay? Never mind if you don't understand. But some of you do, okay? Now, back to this point about some control over rebirth destination. Rebirth by aspiration would work only if the person is virtuous. This is what he said. In fact, if you had attended the last talk on merits, you recall what Buddha kept saying, that you do all kinds of wholesome, meritorious things, you can make aspiration. It's back. Rebirth on account of giving. So someone giving a gift to practitioners, then he sees a fluent elite. When he says Khatiyas and Brahmins and householders, these are society's elite, enjoying themselves, having objects that please their sense bases. And this guy says, oh, with the breakup of the body after death, may I be reborn in companionship with all this elite, affluent elite. You don't want poor elite, you want affluent elite. So he sets his mind, the words are, set his mind, fixes his mind, develop that state. That aspiration of his, resolve on what is inferior, not develop higher. Why is it inferior? Because you are seeking rebirth. In the Buddha's context, as long as you're seeking rebirth, even when it is a good rebirth, it is considered the other class, inferior. Okay? Superior is when you go for nibbana. Everything else, inferior. So we are all inferior. Huh? It's just okay, it's okay. Yeah. On what is inferior, not develop higher. Remember, higher, nibbana. The practice that takes you out, okay? Leads to rebirth there. With the breakup of the body, after death, he will be reborn in companionship with all the affluent elites. And that is for one who is virtuous, not for one who is immoral. The heart wish of one who is virtuous succeeds because of his purity. I will repeat, purity means in the actions that you undertake through body, speech, and mind, your motivation is wholesome. Out of generosity, out of compassion, out of care and love, not out of self-interest, not out of anger. If actions were performed and words were said out of anger, agitation, greed, then those words, however beautiful, are not wholesome because your motivations are not wholesome. It will stain the mind. Say, for instance, you want a favor from someone. Then you know the guy has poor taste. But you cannot tell him he has poor taste because he takes offense. So you say, hey, your taste very good because you want a favor from him. That's hypocritical. That is self-motivated, right? And that means your mind is not pure even though your words are beautiful. Okay? But let's say you are motivated with all the good intention, and this guy who is really poor taste come to you and said, how are? Bad. Then you went, not suitable, not very nice. Then you take offense. But it's okay. You had in mind good motivation. You really want him to change his appearance so that it doesn't offend the sights of all around. Right? So you're trying to do him a favor. 他不领情, he wasn't impressed. But it doesn't matter. Your heart is coming from the right place. But it's also important the way you say it. Okay, anyway, there's a whole new lecture about right speech. Okay, there is another talk in the internet somewhere about right speech. Today, we will just focus on purity of the heart, which then leads to you being in a position to aspire for a wholesome, a good rebirth. Okay? Stay pure, stay good. Buddha identified specifically 5 mental states that, when cultivated, could help the individual determine rebirth. Delivered to monks at Savatthi. I will teach you rebirth by choice. You look at the way he said it. Listen and pay close attention. Have faith, ethics, so saddha, sila, ethics, learning, sota, generosity, chaga, wisdom, panya. You cultivate these 5. When your body breaks up after death, you will be reborn in the company of those aristocrats. This is the translation by Ajahn Sujato. Okay? They settle on the thought, stabilize and develop. The idea, this idea here is, you want it, you must stabilize it. You must be consistent. Don't one day I want to be Brahmin, the next day I want to be Kshatriyas, then your mind get very confused at death. Where do I go? Huh? What am I supposed to do here? So don't create confusion. Just choose one and stay with it. Okay? And developed it. Okay? The choices and meditation of theirs developed, cultivated, will lead to a rebirth there. This is the path and practice. Mind you, this works all the way up the God's ladder. Look at what he said. You have faith, saddha, ethics, sila, sota, chaga, panya. And they have heard these gods of the 4 great kings, gods of the 33, gods of Yama, joyful gods are the two-seater gods. He translated everything and so on. Huh? Long live, beautiful, very happy. I want to join them. Okay, then you must pick one, settle on that thought, stabilize it, develop it. Then, as you cultivate your life, mind is there, you will go there. I repeat, I will just drum this at you until it gets in. Look at that. It goes on. The Brahmin world. Seriously, the Brahmin world, it can be done. But again, purity. If you are not pure enough, basically, it's like this. You want to go to the Brahmin world, you must have credit point. If you don't have enough credit points, okay, you all your life, then at the end, okay, Brahmin world, but you're a good person. You're a decent person with a very rude mouth, but it's okay. So you're a nice person, you're a good person, your heart is very kind, but you scold people. Why? Okay, never mind. So you have mixed credit, right? So mixed credit by right is dark and bright. So what happened? Human world, right? But no, you aspired for the Brahmin world. So you, sorry, Brahmin, yeah, Brahmin. Boom, Brahmin world, then boom, boom. Cannot sustain. You have the sepak that end up in Brahmin, then boom. Because not enough credit cannot stay. So the idea here, it can be done. It can be done. But when you have sufficient credit, so you must be wholesome, okay? Because unwholesome, immoral, if your whole day is about cheating somebody type, it's a different story. I will show you the next story. Now it's the happy story. The we can do it, like that. This is the nice story, okay? I will tell you a story of a Brahmin called the Nangjani. The Nyangjani. It's very hard to pronounce this name. The Nyangjani story will be told later. If I didn't tell it, you remind me. Okay, now I want to introduce you to the 5 mental states which are so important. 5 mental states which are the basis of my next book. It's taking me forever to write. I am sorry about that. Okay, but 3 are ready online. Faith. Saddha, traditionally we say faith in the triple gems, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. But if it were so simple, then it's like not too difficult. I 5 times a day, I bow before Buddha, I chant homages. Sweet, no, it got sila, sota. They must come together, okay? Chaga and panya. So, in this notion of faith, it's confidence. It's trust in the Buddha. If you truly, truly have faith and trust in him, you will try your best to be wholesome. Because that was a fundamental foundation of his teaching. To be wholesome, to be giving, to be kind, compassionate, metta, and so on. Those were critical foundations of the teaching. So if you tell me you have faith, but we all can see that you are 50-50, then your faith doesn't overcome your instincts. It hasn't changed you. You are still very much believe in yourself more than the Buddha. If you believe in the Buddha more than you hold on to your views, then you really have faith. Buddha was right. If I believe differently, I'm wrong. That's the degree of faith. But for most people who are not trying very hard, who are not very wholesome, who are what I will call IC Buddhists. Nominal, okay? The IC Buddhist ones, you are only a Buddhist by definition, by affirmation, by declaration. You're not a Buddhist by practice, by the way you live your life. If you will go before the Buddha and say, I'm your disciple, the Buddha said, no. It would be like that. Because you didn't fulfill the criteria. Okay? So faith is really the desire, the belief that he's right and you will do as he taught. You will try. And you say, too chim lah. No, the chim one, you don't worry about that. Put aside, because that wisdom. Number 5. Sila, the second one there. Wholesomeness. Restrain your anger. Bring out the goodness. That's the idea. Bring out the compassion. Bring out the understanding. Overcome your own instincts to be negative. Very strong instincts, some of us. Okay? Just overcome that. Because he said so. We will try. Okay? Sota, learning. It's about having knowledge of the Dhamma. Having more knowledge of the Dhamma. So here, all of you today, pass Sota. Today, you're all pass Sota. Okay? And then afterwards, when you go off that time, you dana, you will pass Sila. Okay? Okay? Chaga. No, Sila also. Sila is also about giving. Okay? So Chaga, you will pass Chaga and Sila. How beautiful is that? Then there is wisdom. Wisdom is with right seeing and right understanding, you start to change your worldview to be in line with your understanding of the Dhamma. Now, one talk, 10 minutes, impossible to explain all these in detail. Go download the book. Download the book. Read it. Okay? Buddha made a very similar point about aspirational rebirth to Brahmins. Now, I want to bring this thing out because I want to point out to you, these guys are not even Buddhists. They are not even self-declaration Buddhists. They are Brahmins and they are householders. Do you understand? So here the point is, your merits must be enough. You must do enough goodness, wholesomeness. They say, oh, I'm not very rich, I don't have money. Then don't give money. Be generous with your time, your effort. Be compassionate in your speech. Be patient in the way you deal with the world. Be patient with the world, the ones who have particularly annoyed you. Be really patient, okay? And so on and so forth. You know what's wholesome. You know what's good. And this is the same point. I won't read it, but it is exactly the same point here. And look, he told them all the way up the Brahma ladder. You see that? The gods of Brahma retinue Aviha gods, Atapa gods, Sudasa gods, Sudasi gods. These are all Brahma, Brahmanic world. Higher and higher and higher he went. Why? Because they are Brahmins. The Brahmins all want to go back to Brahma. So he's telling that you want to go back to Brahma? You really want to go back to Brahma? You have to do this, you have to be wholesome as you can. Conduct in accordance with the Ma. Meaning, be wholesome, avoid being unwholesome. I will have one slide to tell you what's unwholesome. Oh, sorry. What's your takeaway from here? I think I've made my point, right? Moving on. Now comes the no-nos, okay? You have less control over rebirth. In fact, I didn't want to say you have no control over rebirth, because then you will know that there is another story that comes up that actually will contradict this point. You have less control. Doesn't mean you have zero control. But certain things must still happen in order for you to fight back control, okay? Even before kindling the sacrificial fire, raising the sacrificial poles, one raises 3 unskillful knives which will ripen and result in suffering. Knives of body, speech, and mind. So these Brahmins, this is the separate story. This bunch of Brahmins, he was going to make sacrifices. So the Buddha said, even before you start, by the intent to kill, already mistake. So you may even say, I hope I make merits, but you make bad karma. I hope I'm doing good, but you are doing bad. I hope I will go to heaven, but you will go the other way. Okay? That's polite. I'm a diplomat, polite. The fires of greed, hatred, and delusion. You want to take life for sacrifice. You want to is greed. You're prepared to is dosa. Not anger, but ill will. If you have good will you kill? You won't kill. Only when there is ill will you kill. Delusion is the wrong view. The wrong view, the wrong practice, and you do it. So why should the fire of greed be given up and rejected, not cultivated? Because when you do things, body, speech, and mind, with greed as your motivation, you will end up in hell. So this is Anguttara Nikaya 8 and 7.46 fire. Okay? This one is really fascinating. It's a really long sutta. I cut it, just bits of it. It's called creeping. The sutta is called creeping. What's the exposition of the Dhamma on creeping? Because beings are the owner of the karma, heir of the karma. You know I've always been saying this, right? Owner of the karma, heir of the karma. Karma is the origin, karma is their relative, karma is their last resort. Whatever karma that they do, good or bad, they are heirs, okay? These are the 10 akusala that the Buddha had always talked about, came from this sutta amongst others. And they are 3 by body, 4 by speech, 3 by mind, okay? And as a result of doing these, destination is crooked. Rebirth is crooked. You will end up one of 2 destinations, hell or the species of creeping animal. Snake, Scorpio, centipede, mongoose. So now you know cockroaches, where they come from. Thus a being is reborn from a being, one is reborn through one's deeds. Specifically, these are the 10 you want to take picture, take now. Take what is not given, engages. Oh, left out 1. The first one is killing. Yes, the first one is killing, then stealing, engages in sexual misconduct, tell lies, speaks divisively, speaks harshly, indulge in idle chatter. I will explain that in a while. Full of longing, has a mind of ill will and intentions of hate, and has wrong view thus. Now, I have given a talk earlier on this also. You can check it out. It's under right speech. Specifically on idle chatter. You see, when we sit down and we gossip, idle ma, it's usually gossip, right? When we gossip, you look at your mind. Next time when you gossip, before you start, you look at the mind. And then after you start, you look at the mind. You will see that the mind has greed. Because you are taking perverted delight in sharing bad things about people. Who gossip good things? You say, maybe gossip good one. Now I'm asking you, really? Who gossips and it's good gossip? The odds are, it's not lah. The odds are, right? The odds are your gossip is, let me ask you this. If you engage in a particular piece of gossip, okay, let's say this is the piece that you go around and you sprinkle around like a fairy godmother, you know, Santa Claus, here, have some, you do this, right? Let me ask you, right in front of that individual that you're gossiping about, would you tell him that? If you say no, then you're gossiping negatively. Because if it were yes, you would be very happy to share with him. So think about that, okay? See, the sutta is called creeping. Cute little one. Okay, so the first one, karma, right? The second one. The first one is karma. I shall repeat. The first factor is karma. Meaning the actions that you do, expressed through body, speech, or mind, the choices that you make deliberately, they will have a powerful impact on rebirth. Then you say, where's the control? The control is do good. You can choose to be wholesome as much as you can. Try not to be negative. Then you may say, but what if I am 70% good, 30% bad? That's when the second and the third one comes in, okay? Second powerful determinant of rebirth is habits. Your 30% bad, is it the same habit appearing all the time? Again, this sutta. This is the dog ascetic sutta. Punna, son of the Koreans, an ox duty ascetic, and Senior, a naked dog duty ascetic. So he is naked. Went to the Blessed One, and they paid homage. So Punna, the ox, paid homage, sat down on the side, and Senior, look at him. He sat down, they curled themselves up like a dog. Okay? He sat down, curled up like a dog. He is really into his habits. And the dog ascetic said, this guy is a naked dog ascetic. Sorry, the cow ascetic said, this guy is a dog ascetic. He does what is hard to do. Hard to do. He eats his food when it's thrown to the ground. He's taken up and practiced dog ascetic. What will his destination be? What will be his future course? This is the one where the Buddha said, don't ask. He didn't want to answer. Ask one time, ask two times, ask three times. He said, you really want to know? Okay, I give it to you. Okay, Buddha didn't say it like that, but the idea is, 我就跟你讲不要问了. I asked you not to ask. You're still asking. Okay, I tell you. When someone develops mindfully, fully, uninterruptedly, a habit, a mind, a behavior in a certain way, after having done so, he will appear in the company of dogs. There are only two destinations. If you succeed, you'll be a dog. If you fail, you go to hell. This is a horrible choice. Right? This is a horrible. This is what it means. You see, today you listen to the Buddha saying, those who hold wrong views, it's a really bad karma, bad problem. Then we say, 好像不对, like that, a bit. I don't know. So some of you may say, why so firm about it? No, it's because the views that we have, the views that we hold, will then shape our behavior. We don't behave against what we believe or feel or absolutely believe in. We may do under duress, but if you have a choice, the odds are you will behave as you believe. So if you don't believe in karma, you don't believe in consequences of actions, you don't believe in conditionality, then you will just do what you want. Harm whatever you want, say whatever you want. Because there are no consequences. You know what I'm saying? What we believe affects our behavior. So here in this case, in his time, in the Buddha's time, there were all kinds of belief that leads to all kinds of practices. What you're seeing here is just one funny set. Today you won't find anyone pretending to be a dog. But haven't you heard of people who do things to themselves to look like vampires? Do you know that, right? If you read in the internet, Facebook, you will see all kinds of, what do you call it? Goth? G-O-T-H? Goth. Ghoulish, Halloweenish behaviors. We have, right? Strange people. So the idea here is you associate, you consolidate, you actively cultivate. You're asking for trouble. Because then it becomes seep into your consciousness. And then when it's time to take rebirth, chong to the world of dogs. Like that, lor. Okay? Now, what's the takeaway from here? Be very careful what you cultivate in daily life. Be very careful not to turn unwholesome. You can train yourself, cultivate yourself into wholesomeness, into right speech. You work at one at a time. You already had right action in the pocket, right? None of you kill, steal. Got not? Don't have, right? Sleep around, don't have, right? Okay, so you already had 3 out of 3 for action. Now you only have to work on 4 for speech and 3 for mind. The hardest is the mind. Speech you can control. Mind, very fast. So that's the one you need to work on. Okay? Next, last thought moment. It is very popular, right? Now this is where we're going to talk about Brahmin, the Nyang Jani. Okay? The Nyang Jani Brahmin came from a sutta called the Nyang Jani Sutta, Majjhima Nikaya 97. I'll give you the whole thing. It's very, very cute sutta. Long, quite long. I will tell you the sutta if you like. So this guy had a prior relationship with Venerable Sariputta, okay? And because of that relationship, Sariputta remembers him. So the sutta started with a conversation between Sariputta and another individual who came from the place this guy lived in. And Sariputta asked this individual, "Oh, how was the Nyang Jani?" And the guy said, "Oh, he's not nice. He has backslided." Basically, when he first knew Sariputta, he was a decent guy, but along the way, he became below national average. He cheated. In the sutta, it said he cheated not just other people's money, he also cheated the king's money. He's not just a cheat, he's a courageous one. Okay? And Sariputta said, "Okay, I better go talk to him." So Sariputta did make his way to this guy and had a conversation. Now, this is conversation 2. There was a prior conversation. And in that conversation, it was very cute. Sariputta said, why are you doing this? Why have you backslided this far? And the guy said, oh, you know, I have to earn a living. You know, I'm very busy. I have to look after my parents. So Sariputta asked him, you think when the gods, when the wardens of hell come, you're saying, I have to do all this for my parents, it's going to cut any ice with them. It's going to impress them. He went, no. And Sariputta then asked, then why are you doing it? Now, this takeaway for us is the same thing. You run out of time in this life. When it's time for you to go, you say, yeah, you know, I've been very busy, that's why I cannot practice. Is it going to cut any ice with anything or anyone? No, it doesn't. So that's the takeaway for that part. But the second part, which is really beautiful, when he lay dying, he asked Sariputta to come and visit him and talk to him, share with him some Dhamma. And Sariputta did. You will love this little sutta. Sariputta sat down and he said, I shall teach you a path to the company of Brahma. To the company of Brahma, meaning you will take rebirth in the Brahma world, okay? You meditate, spreading a heart full of love, i.e. Metta. One direction, second, third, and fourth, and the same above, below, across, everywhere. If you can bring up this metta and you can spread this metta, a heart full of love to the whole world. The words are important. Abundant, expansive, limitless, free of enmity and ill will. You sit right there where you are, you listen to the words, you tell me how you feel. The mind must flow outwards. Expand, abundant, limitless. So, metta, the feeling of metta, the feeling of compassion, karuna, mudita, if you can get it right, upekha, even more powerful. All these mental states are, if you can meditate on them, they will take you to the Brahma world, to the highest of heavens. And by the way, it's really in that sequence. You will hit one level with metta, you will hit a higher level with karuna, an even higher level with mudita, and the highest would be upekha. Upekha, equanimity. Mudita, empathetic joy, appreciative joy, i.e. you commiserate, you will feel with another, and as he delights, as he's joyous about his success and achievement, you feel for him. The ability to feel another's joy and rejoice with them. It's very powerful. What it means is you are able to completely put yourself aside. You're completely able to subdue that I. It's completely subdued, then you can do that. Otherwise, it's a bluff version. It's a 冒牌货. If you say, the metta that I can bring up is not spontaneous, I must talk, boop, it pops up. Then it kind of diffuses very fast. The metta that you manage to pull up, okay, very good effort, try again. Because when really metta is part of your signature, that it comes very spontaneously for you, you will walk emitting metta. Just really very strong. And this is only metta. It's the relatively weaker of the four. The mental energy of metta is relatively weaker. Then you say, yeah, but the highest level means they are all together. Yes, at the highest level, they're all together. But we are not at the highest level, ma. For some of us, we still need to understand the mental state, and then we have to learn how to bring it up, and so on and so forth. So these are very powerful mental states, okay? What is the point of bringing a story like this? Because Danyan Jani is a national average person. I told you he did his fair share of wrong deeds. He had no meditation background. Had a last-minute tutorial on Metta meditation. And he got it. He died with the Metta meditation in his mind. He was in it. He was driving on Metta. Then boom, end up in Brahma world. Okay? The point to take away from this sutta is, this guy had no background. So you don't come and tell me cannot be done. I got no practice, so cannot be done. Can be done. If you know how, this is how you do it. Okay? So when we set up a course on Metta meditation, you all come, okay? Sign up happily. The idea here really is that the moment you understand that mental state, you will go into that mental state and you stay with it. Then hopefully you die in that mental state. But then you got that visa that takes you to Brahma. You go, Metta. Oh, enter please. It will be like that. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Too near lunchtime already, is it? It's okay, it's 25th. There are only 2 more slides. 3 more slides. Okay. This story, Tamba Dhatika, he is below national average. The point about Tamba Dhatika is he was a royal executioner who was really good at his job for 55 years. How many of you kill humans as part of your job? And by the way, I've said this before, ancient executioners are not like modern executioners. Ancient executioners must be creative, artistic, meaning they must really commit gory acts. Because the fear factor has to be strong, has to be powerful, deterrence. So you must know Tamba Dhatika was really below national average, above cockroach. He's really, really quite jalat, this guy. Okay? He had one encounter. He was actually retired, nothing better to do. He was going to bathe. And then he saw Sariputta awaiting to collect alms. Then he had one moment of inspiration and he felt, you know what, I really got to do this. So he took his own food. It was his own lunch. He packed a sandwich. So he said, you know what, I'm going to offer it to Sariputta, which he did. And then Sariputta then sat him down to explain to him Dhamma, to teach him Dhamma. He couldn't concentrate because his mind was so distraught by his past deeds. He couldn't concentrate. So came this short exchange. Now, I want you to bear in mind context. The exchange was, he was asked, did you have evil intent? Did you hate the people you killed? And he said, no, it was my job. I didn't hate them. I didn't have feelings. Then he said, then let it go. Don't think about it. You're okay, don't worry. That was the idea, okay? The idea here is that whatever that you have done, you need to be able to put it down and let it go. And be truly, truly remorseful. And then just put it aside, okay? And then he was able to calm down. He was able to concentrate. And most importantly, because the mind has to calm down before you can hear the Dhamma. So he heard the Dhamma. He understood enough to get close to the stream. He didn't cross. He just got close. And after that, as he was going home after his encounter with Sariputta, and some Some story will say he walked with Sariputta for a while. Then after that, he said, oh, okay, bye-bye. Then he left for home. And it was along the way home that he got killed in an accident. I think it was, I don't know, a bull, a cow, depending on which story you hear. These are all storytellers' prerogative. We will add and subtract, and we were happy doing that. I mean, he died. Who knows what happened? Okay? But the point is, his mind was on the Dhamma. He understood. He was joyous. Dia kena knock. Then he died. So he was midway through joyous. So naturally, he will end up into Sita. You see what I'm saying? So he didn't will himself anywhere. He was in the Dhamma. And then, voila, to Sita. So the monks subsequently, when they were talking to Buddha, they told Buddha what happened to Tamba Dhatika, and then asked Buddha, so where did he end up? You know, they're always so curious, right? Where did he go? The Buddha said, oh, he's into Sita. They went, oh, him leh. Buddha, did you get it wrong? No? Tamba Dhatika, you know, that evil man who killed with such flair, right? How did he end up in Tusita? The Buddha said, so this is the phrase that was quoted, better than 8,000 useless words is one useful word, hearing which one attains peace. It's beautiful little, it's true, isn't it? You hear one Dhamma phrase, your eyes, your tears will run. Ah, so beautiful. Die then. This is when you will goes up straight away. Yeah? So the idea here is the Dhamma. It's all conditioned. Okay, what's your takeaway from this story? Conditional. The mind is light, joyous. The mind is light and joyous. It's okay. The mind has to be light and joyous. So when you understand the Dhamma, it is light and joyous. When you have cultivated a lifetime of wholesome mental states, it will be light and joyous. So notion of last stop moment, very popular. But for most of us, you really don't know when last is last. Right? So the Nanjani was lucky. He meditated his way to the Brahma realm. Tamba Dhatika was lucky because he was still experiencing that Dhamma joy where he was knocked down. And then, oops, hey. We may not be that lucky. I mean, it's a very different world, right? So better to be consistent. Safer to be consistent. Don't wait until the last moment to practice. So live your life wisely, have wise reflection so that you lean towards being wholesome. My last story for the day is a discussion. I'm not sure if I've told this before. It's a conversation between the Buddha and his first cousin, Mahanama. And Mahanama, okay, what does this story tell you? It tells you that Buddha's birthplace, birthland, Kapilawatu, was very rich and prosperous. Very prosperous, very successful, very crowded. This is where, as a researcher, you will dig out all these interesting little bits of tidbits. So Kapilawatu, very successful, marketplace, all kinds of people traveling all over the place. He said he was afraid that one day he gonna knocked by one of these stray elephant or horse or a chariot, and then he died. If I were to die, where would I be reborn? And Buddha assured him, comforted him, don't worry. Your death will not be a bad one because you already have that 5 mental states. What are they? Faith, morality, learning, generosity, wisdom. Okay, Eileen, you are going to heaven. Memorize already. Must be like that. You have to have that fluency, okay? So what you do is, in front of your bed, you put the list of names there. Sadda, okay, in English. Confidence, trust, faith, whatever you use it, okay? That's the first one. Morality, learning, generosity, wisdom. You ask yourself every day before you go to sleep that night, how have you applied or cultivated these 5 mental states? You want to be sure that you're cultivating it. Number one, you have to be very familiar with them. Familiarity helps you to be mindful of what you have to do. So put the words big, as you brush teeth, faith, as you go, all over your toilet, paste all these words, so that the words, the ideas keep coming at you. When you are mindless, your eyes will stray to faith. When you are mindless, the eyes will stray to wisdom. It must be like that. But you're so, you say, monkey mind all over the place, right? Make sure it will land on one of these words, and you remember to cultivate for the day. You do this often enough, it will become second nature. That's the point, okay? So you see, body consists of form liable to impermanence, to wearing away, to breaking up, to destruction. But their mind rises up, headed for a higher place. That's the idea. Okay, final slide. I know, your stomach calling. I'm hearing it. I can feel the tension, okay? Earlier on, we talked about sudden death. Remember? Except for the case of Dhananjani, Tamba, Dhatika, Mahanama, they were all talking about sudden death. For sudden death, your only hope of safeguarding that is really to cultivate the 5 wholesome mental states and make it nature, natural for you. Okay? Natural instinct. So that you kena langgar, you end up to sita. Okay? Or if you metta, your metta is so natural for you, kena langgar, you end up brahma. The rhyme is really good, right? Okay. I'll compose a poem around this, eh? Now, what if you have time? What if yours is a gradual decline? So see, this is what we call a gradual decline towards death. And the odds are, this may be the way we go. The odds, because more people die in bed than on the road, right? So the odds are we will have this version, okay? Then you have time. There is time. The last stage of life, you try and observe this. First, accept. When the mind accepts, there is less resistance. Very quickly, you must train the mind to go towards acceptance. It's a done deal. We will all go this way. You can delay it by a month, a week, a day, but the point is it will happen. So if you happen to be confronted with a situation of endgame, the slow way, the glacier way, then never mind. You accept. Quickly get to the point where you say, it's okay, I understand. I only got, 3 months, 6 months. Never mind, let's do this. So the point here is accept, respect the process. You are ready to move on graciously. So it may be to write your will, it may be to say your goodbyes, whatever it is. Gracious. Okay? Avoid the 3 R's. Resisting, resenting, regretting. Make sure all these, you get it out of the way. Focus on others' needs. Be considerate, be gracious, be generous, make peace, reconcile forgive, embrace. The idea is be wholesome. I'm sure you'll come up with a lot more words. I only have a few minutes typing this, so I had to type very fast and they came up with this. So I will repeat, accept, don't be negative, try and be as positive as you can. It's the natural thing. We want to just accept it. Got some more. This one is where the Metta and Karuna, the Brahma Vihara can come up. Earlier on, remember, I was guiding you through a meditation which I kept saying, I'm grateful for this life, I'm grateful for this. This is what I'm training you to be able to do. Be grateful for this life, for the love and the blessings. Recall the good that you had done. You don't have to take out your journal and start reading. I know that there are certain advice about recording everything you have done. It also creates some tension because, did I forget anything? Because if I forget, right, I didn't bring my passbook along. They may not record all these merits. Then how? No lah, it's all in the mind. You are your own creditor. It's all in your mind. If you are joyous enough, you don't need to bring your bank book, or checkbook, or passbook. It's all in the mind. They will download by itself. But if you're not wholesome, your entire life you did one dana. It was to your, I don't know, by chance, your kid took your money and put in the tongbok. Then like that, your mind is all about gripping. But if you had always been helping, be generous, be kind to friends, be forgiving, be loving, no. All the wholesome deeds, right? At the end, you must kakalai. You wear your clothes, get ready. No problem. Anytime, come. I'm all ready for you. I have my bags packed, I'm ready to go. It's a cruise, man. Like that, okay? Like that. For those of you who are practitioners, if you can, remember this. Be mindful of your breathing and of the watchful mind, the mind that watches. What another speaker earlier on call it metta awareness, metta mindfulness, right? The idea here is you know you are watching. If you can do that, watching, be accepting, be content, have faith in your practice. A practitioner, your life has been well lived. This life. You've done what is necessary. It's beautiful as it is. Okay? So, this is the end of the talk, and I will introduce one last slide. Oh, no, actually, I will ask if there were any questions. It's a Q&A moment, right?
Thank you very much, Sis Sylvia, for a fantastic talk. She did all the research for us, and we just wrap it up. Can we just say sadhu 3 times? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Our own chorus there. It's the BF chorus.
Are there any questions today?
I've learned that when you overwhelm people with the material, there will be no question at the end. And because we are not online, there's no question. You have no support from the online crew.
But it's also because, Sis Sylvia, you're very, 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 very complete. So we are very appreciative. There are usually no questions for your talk, except from Brother Henry.
Thank you for the wonderful talk. As a practitioner, we know that the Deva world has long life. So Buddha has said that to be a practitioner, we want to be born in the human realm to practice, to finish all the lives ahead of us, all right? So having this metta to Brahmin world is a bit worrisome too, right?
Not worrisome, not worrisome.
So how would you recommend for a practitioner?
Practitioner's talk is part 3.
Okay.
That is why I made it clear when I started that there are 3, it's a trilogy, it's a 3-part series. Because the world is not all practitioner, number 1. Number 2, I believe very strongly that Buddhists have shortchanged themselves. You are all fixated about fear of hell and fear of the animal realm. You believe in rebirth, but you have so little confidence in yourself that, oh, I'm going to end up there. Why do you feel like that? You should not. If you are a Buddhist and you know what is wholesomeness, and you do what you can, and the occasional time when you slip, it's occasional, right? I mean, if you look at your own life, 24 hours, we put aside the recommended 8 hours for sleep, you have 16 hours. Your 16 hours of waking hours, if you were to judge, you yourself judge, is it more wholesome or more unwholesome? Then you might say, I don't know, I only remember the unwholesome ones. That's where your problem is. Next time, remember all the wholesome ones. I tell you a little secret. You may not agree with me, but it's something which I've observed time and again. If you are really a wholesome, good person, your fixation is that few times you were not wholesome. If you are an unwholesome person, you are fairly confident that you are very wholesome. It's the supreme irony, isn't it? The unwholesome one will confidently tell you, I'm the kindest person around, There's no one kinder than I. But the really wholesome fella, yeah, I know. 3 years ago I said this to this person, I still feel bad about it. So what we do is we take a gun and we shoot ourselves in the foot. Don't do that. I want Buddhists to know what exactly the Buddha taught in the hope that by having that knowledge, you do the necessary for yourself and for your loved ones. So what is this knowledge? To sum it up, know how to keep the mind light and wholesome, joyous. Towards the end, forget about all the funny things you have said and done. It's history. It's archived. Can you purge the archive? Focus instead on how you have changed life, what you have done to help people, how you have helped to change lives in a positive way. Now, why the practitioner? I always have this little part 3 for the practitioner, because the practitioner must have a different goal. The practitioner's goal is Nibbana. How am I supposed to teach a talk about Nibbana for the world when the world is not ready for it? Buddha himself said the world's not ready. Much of the world is not ready. So it's okay. If you're not ready, let's just safeguard your rebirth first. Okay, we get that one right. Then when you are ready, in your heavenly realm, you come back and protect the Dhamma, okay? That's the deal we have. You do what is right, you get to your heavenly abode, then you come back and you look after the Dhamma. That's your job. There's this very cute little story about, Sahampati, Brahma Sahampati. He's a Buddhist. Did you know that? I never knew that until I was doing my research. He was a Buddhist. He learned under a previous Buddha. So he waited a long time for Gautama to come. He was protecting the Dhamma. That's why he will come and, You must teach. That's your job, your mission in life. We are waiting for you to teach. There will be some who understand. Saka, King Saka was also a Buddhist. So you can be sure that you want to go to King Saka world, you better be Buddhist. Otherwise, you're second-class citizen. I mean, we all are, so it's okay. The idea here is Buddhists must know your teaching is about wholesomeness. It's about giving, about caring, about loving. That's your teaching. Don't lose that. Don't go focus on rituals and talk, ting. You can think, you can talk, but you must first get the first principle right. Be wholesome. Then you are okay. Come what come may, you're okay. Okay? Now, we are all happy here. I am going to invite all of you. Earlier on I mentioned about we want to share merits with a departed sister of BF. So we don't have the slides. I'm going to read to you her name. If you all know who she is, please in your mind call. If you don't know, you just say, we will share merits with this friend, this Dhamma sister. Okay? Her name is Sister Wong Zi Shaw. S-H-I-A-W Shaw. She passed on Wednesday night. Wednesday, I don't know, Wednesday she passed on. So may I invite all of you to wish her well. May she be well and happy wherever she is. May she return to the Dhamma. May she hear what we have to share and rejoice that we are sharing in her memory. Okay? Thank you very much. One last slide. It's now become my calling card. If you had experienced joy listening to the Dhamma, do consider honoring the teacher by putting into practice his first teaching to the lay community. Vichaga, donate, help, give support of time and energy to a worthy charity or spiritual organization of your choice. I warmly welcome you all to BF. We must never take for granted the blessings that we have enjoyed in this life. As our forefathers had done it right by us, we must continue to the good work for those who come after. May the Dhamma last long. May we continue to enjoy supportive conditions for learning and practice. And may we never deviate from the true teaching as long as life lasts.
Thank you, Sister Sylvia. Before we close, there are some announcements. For next week, the topic is I meditate, but I see no light. This will be delivered by Ayah Upeka. There'll be a concurrent simulcast from Facebook and YouTube because this is a recording. So we hope to see you back again in BF. And for the other activities, you can always refer to our Facebook page. And if you have subscribed to Telegram, you will be informed for all the activities by Buddhist Fellowship. Ajahn Brahm's talk will be on the 25th. It starts at 1 p.m. Oh, sorry, it's very difficult to see. I didn't meditate, so I didn't really see it. So, 25th, start at 3 p.m., going beyond karma. Simultaneous live streaming on Buddhist Fellowship Facebook. Right? And for activities by Buddhist Fellowship Youth, as well as Indonesians, next week for Buddhist Fellowship Youth, on the 17th, is Giving by Wisdom by Prago Chungkyang. And for Indonesian, we'll have an Indonesian Dhamma discussion on the 18th, on a Sunday, at 2 p.m. Anapanasati meditation we have already closed the registration. For those who have registered, it will start at 2 p.m. today. And we will be using this hall, so after you leave, you don't have to tidy up the cushion, okay? And if you already missed, the next session will be next year. If you like to participate, one thing to do is apply as a Buddhist Fellowship member so that you will you'll be the first to hear about this activity and you can sign up, okay? And Yin Yoga Meditation, if you are interested, please register to the email as shown on the screen. This will be conducted by Zoom. Happy workout. It will be going on every Saturday from 10:30 a.m. to 12 noon. This is also going to be held via Zoom. So you can register from the link up there. Now again, Dharma is priceless. I think just now we also learned from Sister Sylvia Bay. We can practice generosity by giving dana, right? So if you want to donate, please, you can do a gyro, or you can scan the QR code for Pay Now, right? Okay. And of course, I think just to remind Sister Sylvia Bay, if you would like to follow, it'll be on the 1st November. So don't forget to sign up and register when the registration is open, right? Closing puja. Dedication of merits. In Anjali, let us invite all sentient beings to participate in our acquired merits. Ettavata cha amehi sambatam punya sampadang sabe dewa anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Ettavata cha amehi sambatam punya sampadang Sabe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Ettavata cha amehi sambatam punya sampadang sabe sata anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya. Let us dedicate the merits of participating in a wholesome Dhamma activity to our departed relatives and friends. Idame natinang hotu sukhita hontu natayo. Idang me natinang hotu sukhita hontu natayo. Idang me natinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. End of service dedication. I dedicate the marriage which I have accumulated to the cultivation of my mind in order to bring happiness and benefits to all sentient beings. I dedicate the merits to my parents, children, spouse, relatives, friends, colleagues, and my adversaries, wishing them long life, good health, happiness, and prosperity. May we never part from the Triple Gem, and may we always walk the path towards enlightenment. Let us pay respect to the Triple Gem. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.